reading the text with you this morning and try to see what the sages are telling us in this verse. I already opened a YouTube stream today, so good morning, friends on YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night to those who are listening to us. And here we are at the whiteboard. As you can see, there are 3 verses here. One from Psalms chapter 83, another one Exodus 15, and Genesis 14. The order of the verses which are quoted here are the order that they appear in this article that we shall soon read. But before we read the article, would you like to read the verses for us? And please try to tell me what do you feel, because today I rearrange the verses a bit different. Usually I put the title above and the verse below. Now it is ordered a bit differently, and please tell me what you feel. If it feels good to you, would you like to change it, and to which direction, that it will give you a good sense of flow.
For me, it's nice. It is good.
Good?
I-
Good. So please,
Yes,
yes, who would you like start reading in English, please?
I can read it. Yes.
Thank you.
So, uh, Psalms chapter 83. O God, keep not thou silence, hold not the peace, and be not still, O God. And Exodus chapter 15. The right hand, O Lord, glorious in power, the right hand, O Lord, dasheth in pieces the enemy. And Genesis chapter 14. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed.
Thank you so much. Now we shall see how the Zohar read all of those verses together, and how does he combine between them, and what does he try to tell us beyond those verses. So we're reading from the book of Zohar, Zohar with the translation, explanation of the letter Sulam, Bereshit, Genesis, portion Lech-Lecha, Ma'amar, article, Elohim al Domilach, God, please don't be silent. This is the name of the article, is derived from Psalms 83. Here. This is the Aramaic here, this is the Zohar, this is Ot Reish Lamed Bet, Ot mark or sign 232. This is the Zohar here in Aramaic, and here's the translation, explanation of the Sulam. So, Ot Reish Lamed Bet, letter 232. Patach ve'amar, opened and said. And here we have a flag, there is a quote from Psalms 83. Elohim al domilach vegomer, God, please don't be silent. And now he explains what does this verse mean. Zehu hitorerut milmata, this is the awakening from below. Mitzad hanukba, from the side of the nukba. Kedei lishlot, in order to govern. Amar David, David said, because the Psalms is related to David. Amar David, Elohim or Elohim al domilach, God, please don't be silent. Why? Me lehitorer el ha'elyon, to be awakened for the upper. in this case the upper, is Zer Anpin, Zain Aleph, Zer Anpin, to awaken to the upper, to Zer Anpin, ולהתחבר בימין, and to connect to the right side, בימין, to the right, בחסד שלו, in his grace. Now, what does the Zohar tell us about this verse? Why David in his psalms asked God not to be silent? What is the reason that David asked God not to be silent when God in Hebrew is Elohim? What does it mean?
If I understood well, Eti, this is an awakening from below, and David say, how can I say that there is awakening from below and from the upper, from the Elyon, it allows Zeirampin to connect to the right side of the tree of life. But I don't know if I understood well, but what I understood is something like that.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, this is excellent. So, Elohim al domilach, God, don't be silent. What does it mean? Don't be silent. If there's silent, like there's no life. So don't be silent. Make a movement, meaning the lower aspect or the former aspect is rising or awaking. This is the Nukba, or the last day of the Tetragrammaton. And why David say this? Because once the Nukba is awakened, she is awakened to the next aspect, which is Zer Anpin. The quality of the Nukba is wisdom. The quality of Zer Anpin, the Vav, is grace. Let's write it here because he will explain all of those relations very soon. The quality, the last day of the Tetragrammaton, this is the quality of it, is wisdom. The Vav, quality of Zer Anpin, is grace. The quality of wisdom is the left side. Wisdom in this case, after the, because there's movement all the time. But when we speak about the Nukba, the wisdom is considered to be on the left. Now, once the Nukba is awakened by words, Elohim, because Elohim is 86, also Milah, word, Milah, word, is 85, plus the Kolel, plus 1, this is 86, the name Elohim. So we could say the mouth, which is one that can speak the word, this is Elohim, the manifested. So don't be silent, continue to speak. This is referring to the Nukba. Because when the Nukba is awakened, there is a speech, and the speech or the word is awakened to what? To connect to Zer Anpin. And since the quality of Zer Anpin is grace, the connection will be on, so to speak, the grace point. Meaning the Nukba or the Hay always rising or being awakened, and her awakeness is attracting the Vav to give her grace. Because the quality of the Vav is grace. Do we understand that?
Yes, yes, it.
Yes? Good. If you want to or wish
Uh,
to ask
uh,
questions, please. Yes, Rodrigo.
if I understood well, this awakening is from below to attract the grace from above,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes,
And it's interesting, Eti, because yesterday with another portion of the Zohar,
yes,
but appears, I believe that the same expression, uh, eletata here, the
yes.
Dalit that we mentioned before, and
Mm-hmm.
this word before the letata, I believe that appears yesterday also. It's
Yes,
interesting because we are talking different portions, but um, not the same topic, but in some way there is a similar approach, I believe.
yes, yes. It's all about connection and communication. I can read the Aramaic here. Patach ve'amar, he opened and said, Elohim al domilach, God, please don't be silent, don't stand still, and don't be quiet. Al, el or al, this is not clear. Ve'al tishkot, ve'al tishkot el. Let's move 1 second, it's very good that you ask. Please pay attention to the Hebrew Psalms. Ve'al, ve'al is not or don't. Ve'al tishkot el. Please pay attention, the same letters have different meaning. Al is no or don't, negation, and el is God. Ve'al tishkot el. So let's move again to the Aramaic. Patach ve'amar, he opened and said. 1 second, I have to open YouTube because I don't see the friends on YouTube. If you see us or hear us, say hello, because good morning to all. Patach ve'amar, he opened and said, Elokim al domilach, please don't be silent, al techerash, don't stay still, ve'al tishkot el, and don't be silent or keep your silent God. Da בארמיק means זה. Dahu, that he, or that, dahu, that, this, how do you say to move it into Hebrew immediately? Zehu, that's it. It'aruta deletata. This is the awakening of the lower. Deletata, like we say the delta, because here we have also, since you look into the Aramaic, we can see here delta. Delta of the Nile, the delta. The delta, here, deletata, if we unite the tavs, it's like delta. The delta of the Nile is like a hand with many fingers. This is concerning the Nukba. Receive wisdom. Yes? So here he says, that's it, the awakening of from below. Because begin, here, begin in Aramaic is because. Begin leshalta'a, begin to govern. לשלטה כמו שלטון, לשלוט, to govern. אמר דוד, said David, אלוקים אל דומילך, God, please don't be silent. להתערה לגבי אילאה, to awaken for the upper. התערה, להתעורר, לגבי, for the side, לגבי אילאה, עליון. אילאה, from על עליון. ולהתחברה, like Hebron, to connect. ולהתחברה גבי ימינה, and to connect to the right side. Does it make any sense?
I'm trying to connect the ideas. If I may ask you, Eti,
Yes.
could we relate Shekhinah with Elohim?
Yes, of course. Of course. Of course.
Because it seems that it is a process of awakening and bringing this judgment to the right side. Because
Yes.
the quality of the Nukva maybe
Yes.
is related with Geburah,
Yes.
but since you can awake it, since you awake the Nukba, you bring the quality of the right side and
Yes.
of the middle.
Yes. 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 This is interesting because here he says Nukba, and here he says Itaruta de Letata, and it has, so to speak, the Dalet. So the Nukba is just the Dalet without the foot of the hay. After she will be awakened, so to speak, and she will connect to the Anpin or to the Vav or to the grace. She will receive the Yod of Yesod, and the Nukba shall become a Malchut. Please pay attention.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Makes sense?
Yes, this is a great. Yes, this is a great. Let's say a great development of the idea, because sometimes we speak about Malchut as the lower, but Malchut already has the Yesod, right? Malchut is the heavenly kingdom.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
not some. It is already in movement, let's say, the
Yes.
Malchut. But here we have the Letata that is below. It is the Nukva without the Yod, let's say,
Yes.
without the.
Yes. This is the Nukba without the Yod. Yes. Now he continues.
It is the gravity, right?
Yes, this is the
Say
gravity. The gravity. Yes. Hello, Yam Castillo. We are very happy that you're here. Now he continues. Ot Reish Lamed Gimel. Letter 233. Mai Te'ama. I read now the Aramaic. Mai Te'ama. Matam. What is the taste, or what is the reason? Because. Now he opens with another verse from Exodus. I'm not sure. No, this is another one that I did not bring at the moment. One second. Ki hine oivecha yehemayun, because your enemy will hum and sow. Ki noatsu, because they consulted with the heart together. Ki noatsu lev yachdav, because they were consulted with the heart together. Alecha brit yechotu, upon you a covenant they will found. Uvegin kach, and because of that, Elohim al domilach, because of that, God, please don't be silent. Leit ara legabe ila, to awaken for the upper. Deha kedin it arat yamina, which is the same. The right side is awakened and being connected with it. Let's move into the Hebrew now, because it's getting far. Resh Lamed Gimel. Ma te'ama, what is the reason? Ma ta'am, that David says, God, please don't be silent. Mishum, because, and here he brings another verse which says that the enemies of one person, the enemies inside of a person, there is no enemies outside of our realms. Because, ki hine oivecha yehemayun, your enemies will hum and sow. Ki noatsu lev yachdav, because they consulted the heart together. Alecha brit yichrotu, they consulted to make a covenant in a way against you. Ki anukba, now he will explain what is the difference between nukba and the rest. Ki anukba, he bechinat small. Anukba is the aspect of the left. Shehi sod, which is the secret of wisdom, chokhmah, bli chasadim. Wisdom without grace. ואין החוכמה יכולה להאיר בלי חסדים. And wisdom cannot illuminate without grace. ועל כן, and this is why כל הקליפות, all the shells, and the enemies of holiness are raising their heads. And because of this, umishum ze, Elohim al domilach. And from this, God, please don't be silent from being awakened upwards to Zer Anpin, because then Hayamin, the Zer Anpin, the right side of Zer Anpin, is being awakened and bonds the Nukba with him. And when the Nukba is connected to the right side, meaning that the wisdom in it dresses in the grace of the right, then the enemies are being broken, because the illumination of wisdom is, how do you say, dismissing all the enemies of holiness. This is why it is written, Yemincha Hashem, your right side Hashem, Ne'edari Bakoach. It's a wonder of power. Yemincha Hashem, your right side Hashem, Tir'atz Oyev, will mark the enemy, as you were reading here from Exodus. Maybe Fernando, can you read, please? What happens when the Nukba connects finally to the Zer Anpin? What is the result?
The right hand. Do you wish to me to read the chapter? Okay. Verse 6. The right hand, O Lord, glorious in power. The right hand, O Lord, dash it in pieces the enemy.
Yes, yes. This is the consequence of the connection between the Nukba, so to speak, and the Zer Anpin, the grace. Because the Nukba is like being alone. This is the left side, and in the left side, as you said, there's the judgment, and comes all the shells. What is the shells? External thoughts, which have nothing to do with the inner and the higher, external and lower thoughts, and those are considered to be the enemies of a person. External and lower thoughts, those are the enemies of a person. This is why when David feels that he has this kind of wave of lower and external thoughts, he immediately prays the Psalms, God, please don't be silent. That the Nukba, he feels inside of himself the Nukba. And he says to the Nukba, God, please don't be silent. Don't be still. And don't keep your, how do you say, quiet, God. Connect to the higher. The higher is Zeranpin, is grace. Do we understand the course of thinking?
Good afternoon, Etty.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
It's 1 o'clock in the
Hello.
morning here in Australia. Shalom, shalom.
Yeah.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom Philippe.
This is just a scripture, so to speak, but we have this many times in relations when one of the friends is like feeling a bit down and he has all kinds of, we say, foreign thoughts. Everything is wrong, everything not in the right side, even he doesn't speak, and the friends see that his friend is a bit in a low mode, so the friend is encouraging to speak. And when he speaks, the friend in a way finds a way, also the person himself, while speaking, he is being awakened to connect, and then they, via conversation between friends or between a person and himself, a person is managing to elevate himself to the next stage, because their Anpin or grace is not another person or another TV channel. All those stages are inside of us, or modes are inside of us.
And E.T.
Yes.
It is a beautiful and amazing passage, and I'm wondering about this grace because about we talked yesterday. You said that when we start to make like a project, or we have some idea, a spark, an insight to make something different, to change our way, like when you open this podcast or something, or the problem is that when God speaks, let's say Elohim speaks, and it is in movement, it seems that you have work to do, because like what you made just today. You search in the book of Zohar an answer, and you put the quotes of Psalms and Exodus and Genesis, and it is a lot of work to connect things and to manifest the idea, the spark that came. And I'm just wondering this, if we could relate this, because the spark came and you manifested somehow, right? So
That would make change being a good thing. It ends up with results, such as for Etty's example with this channel, and other sparks, what other people receive and result. Change is good.
This is interesting what you're saying, because
yes, it is good, but it gives work,
yes, because grace is work. Yes, grace is work. Yes, because there's something with the grace. This is very interesting, because there's another distinction between the Nukba and the Vav. The Nukba, and this is it's very, very good that you reflect. Nukba is like private, and the Vav of Zeranpin is the general. It's a spirit, it's general. So when And this is interesting. The movement of the Nukba, the awakeness of the Nukba, is basically to move from the private, from the narrow, so to speak, to the general. Of course, it is, how do you say, engages with work and research, in this case, podcast or lesson, yes. But whenever we would like to move from the private, our private realm, to a general realm, it demands like skills and communication and learning and work, and we go from the private to the general. This is it. This is the way to grow from the private to the general. Just to give us another image, let's say we are living somewhere in a village. So in the village there are alleys, but when we want to leave the village and to travel to the city, in the cities we have roads and boulevards. This is something broader, wider. In the village are living few families or so. It's like more private. Almost everybody knows each other and so forth. But when we go to the city, it's a much bigger territory. Many individuals are living in the city. We have public transport, there are roads, and so we're going from the private to the general. So, like people in the village, this is interesting. They have more space, they can live on a very big mansion or so, but when we go to the city, there's a Vav there. Zeranpin, it's like a tower, so sometimes people have the shock because they live with their parents in a villa somewhere in the outskirts, and when they reach like time of university, or they need to move to the college, or they go to the city, suddenly their dwelling condition are being changed, and they have to find like a little unit in the city, and they are very familiar with large gardens or large rooms, mansion, and suddenly they have to share 1.5 rooms with another student. This is a shock. But we are moving from the private to the general, and in the general we cooperate. In a way we leave behind what we think about life, leaving this behind, and we accommodate and we update and what is going in front of me in the world of spirit, because the spirit, the Vav, is something which connects everyone.
And the enemies that you, what does it mean to turn down the enemies? Like
The enemies could be all kinds of thoughts that I cannot do it. Let's say a person wants to go for something. I cannot do it. I don't have the skills. I don't have an access to the right software. I don't know even how to approach my idea, because first of all I have to dig in my mind to find out what I want, because like we learned in one of the Shabbatot, that sometimes what we wish to do is so hidden from ourselves, and inside of the mind there's a thought within a thought within a thought, like an onion, how do you say, peel. So we have to find out what we want, and it's a process. It is a process. So the enemies could be thoughts like discouragement, what you will have from this, who would let's take the podcast just for an example. What what good can it give you? Okay, so I would like to open my heart. So if a person opens his heart and speaks to the general, it's also good. But who will listen, and why will you do it? Who knows if somebody will listen or write or respond, and I don't have the right skills, and I don't know how to make videos, and the enemies, and there's sometimes a deep urge to take things out from the heart. It's like a fire, a core fire, but still to be able to utilize the fire into skills, it takes time. And we sometimes have the urge and we want to like to deliver this child, but we need a process. So there aren't any external enemies. There's thoughts inside of us that we cannot make it, or it's impossible, and all kinds of things. But if a person has inside of himself certain fire, go for the fire that you have inside. Any kind of fire. It's a process.
If I may, Eddie.
Yes.
Etty had a entire series on acting out your abilities, and in that it got mentioned that there's more possibilities on when you're engaging in a occasion for a situation to go wrong, a lot more opportunity to go wrong than it is to go right. Therefore, when you are deciding to go forth into your specific direction, that you place intent to go in towards it, making that intent amplifies where you're trying to act out and go towards, and it trains you internally, personally, individually for the long run. And the more that you train, that fire inside you gets stronger, and you develop those skills to be able to repeat the actions that you're training yourself for in that meantime. And the more that you do it, the second nature, for lack of a better description, it becomes to you. For those watching, Etty basically created an entire series at one stage based around that in particular.
Again, what was the last word before particular?
An entire series
Yes.
of podcasts, if that's the part that was missing.
Yes. 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 Thank you. Questions? Rodrigo?
Yeah,
Yes.
when I find myself in situations like just now, I'm aware that there's a presentation going on. I only intended on making the points enough to get the point, the thought across to the point that was made prior. I wasn't really looking to elaborate on any further than that. Just being aware that there's more that's been prepared for the presentation today.
Yeah.
So just to add into that,
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I don't want to deviate from the topic and send it down another direction. I could see even more that you have set up to the left here, more paragraphs as well. So just to make sure that we do actually accomplish what you have prepared.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Rodrigo, Fernando, questions on YouTube before we continue? Or thoughts?
I'm following it. We can see what because I already make the questions and and I'm just looking at these ideas and connecting to sediment it, and it is amazing for me. Just came also that this last paragraph, that the right hand of the Lord break the enemies, is like after the work is made, after the movement of the inside, these enemies fall apart. It seems that you cannot even remember the fears that you had and the things that was pulling you down before. Once you overcome it,
Mm-hmm.
once you put in movement, right?
Yes, yes, yes. This is it. Nothing remains. Nothing. Great. And here,
It is great.
thank you. And here, another letter, Reish Lamed Daled, 234. Again, Vetachazi, this is abbreviation in Aramaic. Vetachazi, bo uree. Come and see. בשעה שנתחברו כל אלו המלכים, in the time or in the hour that all those kings were connected, לעשות מלחמה עם אברהם, meaning now he speaks about the war between the 5 and the 4 kings, or 4 and the 5 kings in Genesis 14, and he says ותחזי בשעה שנתחברו, in the time that all the kings were connected to make war with Abram, נתייעצו להעבירו מן העולם, they were consulted to take him outside of the world. וכיוון ששלטו בלוט, בן אחי אברהם, מיד הלכו. And since they govern or they control Lot, the nephew of Abraham, or Abraham nephew, we say in English, מיד הלכו, immediately they went. שכתוב, that it is written, and here we have a quote, ויקחו את לוט, and they took Lot, ואת רכושו, and his property, בן אחי אברהם, the nephew of Abraham, וילכו, and they went. מה הטעם? What is the reason? משום שצורתו של לוט הייתה דומה לאברהם. Because the form of Lot, צורה is a form, because the form of Lot was similar to Abraham. ומשום זה, and for that reason, וילכו, and they went. כי כל מלחמה הזו, because all of this war, בשבילו הייתה, for him, it was the war. וחשבו, meaning the kings thought, שכבר נפל בידיהם, that he already fell in their hands. Now, did we understand what the text is about, or shall I read again the verse about Lot and see what he's trying to say here? Because just very
For me,
introducing. Yes.
it is clear. It is clearly the pshat idea.
Yes. What is the
Like
pshat?
the pshat is that the war was that the from the five kings against Abraham. The purpose was to capture Abraham and destroy him.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as the kings took Lot, they they left because he thought they took Abraham because they seems the image was similar between Lot and Abraham.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they believed it, that they had captured Abraham, right?
Yes. Excellent. Yes.
And it's interesting that if I understood well, they want to remove Abraham from the world, right?
Yes. Yes.
Re-
Yes.
And since Abraham represents Hesed, well,
Yes. Yes.
we talk
Yes. Yes. This is
we
it.
talk
This.
about the mercy,
Yes.
the,
This
the
is
right the right the right column.
excellent. Excellent. So why did this is a question? Why did they want to take Abraham from the world? What is the
Because
yes?
Abraham represents the right side, as Rodrigo spoke.
Yes.
He represents grace, right?
Grace.
So the Hasidim, the the Or Hasidim maybe,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
Or Hasidim is what destroys all the enemies. So
Yes.
maybe this is why, right?
This is it. Once they take Abraham, they take the arm of grace, or grace in general in the world. They will exterminate the grace. There will be no grace in the world once they capture or take Abraham. And this is why they want to take him. Was the reason of the war, to take Abraham. Venus, good
Eti,
morning. Yes.
Eti, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. I can.
If I understood, okay, if I understood well, it took Lot because Lot's form was similar to Abraham's.
Yes.
And of course, we're not talk about material form, but I try to understood this in a, how can I say, a sod level, not in the higher meaning,
Yes.
symbolical meaning. How can we see a similar form between Lot and Abraham? Because Lot is 45.
Yes.
Lot is 45. We could say that he's, how can I say, maybe Tiferet, but in other aspect. I don't know if Lot could be put there because 45 is Adam and the tetragrammaton in Zeirampin, right? And I cannot see this similitudes of form between Lot and Abraham. If you could help me, I appreciate.
Yes. Let's see. Abraham. Now in this, now he doesn't have the hay. He's Abraham. It is 243. Is that Abram without hay? Because at this moment he doesn't have the hay. Is that
Yes,
right?
43 plus 2, we get the 45.
Very good. Yes, yes. Simple?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
do you
without
accept
any.
that? Yes. This
Yeah, yes,
this
yes,
is just the
without
beginning.
something.
Yes, this is just the beginning. We shall see what the article is saying. Yes. Now, Reish Lamed Hey, this is Mark or letter 235. Mai te'ama, what is the taste? What is the reason? Yes, This is a question. ושואל, and he asks, מה הטעם שרצו להרוג את אברהם? What is the reason that they want to kill Abraham? ואומר, and he says, שהוא משום שאברהם הוציא את בני העולם מלעבוד עבודה זרה. Because Abraham took the men or the sons of the universe or of the world, he took them from worshipping foreign god or idolatry. והביאם לעבודת הקדוש ברוך הוא. And Abraham brought the people to worship the holy blessed he. ועל כן רצו להרגו. And this is why they wished to kill him. ועוד, and more. כי הקדוש ברוך הוא עורר אותם בעולם. Because the holy blessed he awakened them, the kings in the world. להילחם באברהם. To fight Abraham. כדי לגדל שמו של אברהם בעולם. To grow the name of Abraham in the world. ולקרבהו, and to bring him closer לעבודתו, to worship him. Now, what is the question that Baal Zohar, so to speak, asked here? The master of the Zohar.
Why the kings wish to kill Abraham?
Yes. Why?
Because Abraham convert the idolatry to the idolaters to follow the path of the one.
Yes.
Blessed be he.
Yes.
And the interesting part is that it seems that was God himself who made the kings going after Abraham to glorify Abraham's name.
Yes. Because
Is that right, Eddie?
this is right, because there is no other source. Cannot be. It's how do you say, two kinds of forces or three kinds of forces. They cannot be. The one who evokes the king is also the one who speaks to Abraham and says Lech-Lecha. It's the same source. To them, the holy blessed he appears as the initiation to kill Abraham. And to Abraham, the same source revealed in the word Lech-Lecha, in the speech of Lech-Lecha. It's the same source. The same source communicates to each and every one of us according to what they need and according to the level and the function and what is written for them in their letter. Each and every one of us is born with a destination. Yes. Questions?
And the opposition is something that is needed, it seems.
Yes, yes, yes. There is a need to go against, because otherwise everything is given like for a child. But when we grow up, when we go for and how do you say, overcome things and situation, we understand this is our work. This is our past, like Lech-Lecha, meaning make your own way. This is what God offered Abraham, meaning, okay, I moved to our conversation yesterday, so so to speak, the family, the whole family moved from, or took out, or went out from Ur Kasdim as a group of people, as a family, but now Lech-Lecha, go for your own path. Because when we're going for our own path, we discover who dwells inside of us. This is it. We discover in the path, during the course of life, we learn to appreciate who lives inside of ourselves. Because usually when we're children, we see like family figures, neighbors, or we think that this is how a child captures life. But we are encouraged to grow and to discover the holy blessee who lives in a way in concealment inside of us, and he wishes us and encourages us to converse with him and discover this concealment inside of ourselves. And it's still a struggle because we think we are our body, whatever happens. It's an interesting relationship. Venus, thank you for what you write, but I don't understand what do you mean? Letter Lech-Lecha, Mark 236. ורזה דמילה וסוד הדבר. רזה in Aramaic, raz in Hebrew is a sod. It's a secret. דמילה, word הדבר. וסוד הדבר, and the secret of the thing of the word. כיוון שנתעורר אברהם לרדוף אחריהם, since Abraham was awakened to chase after them. אז נאמר, please pay attention to the thought of the Zohar speaker. אז נאמר, it's already been told, Elokim al domilach, God, please don't be silent. And so now he opens the, how do you say, a window to show us more. שהנוקבה נתעוררה לזר אנפין, that the Nukba was awakened to the Zer Anpin, to the Vav. והעלתה man, this is a process of the 10 spheres. It's a bit complicated, complex, but I'll try to make it easy. שהנוקבה נתעוררה לזר אנפין, that the Nukba was awakened to Zer Anpin. והעלתה man. What is man? She was erasing Main Nukbin, feminine water. The Nukba is rising feminine water, elav, towards Zer Anpin. להמשיך chesed, to continues or to withdraw the grace, which is the secret of the right. עד שהכל נקשר באברהם, until everything was connected in Abraham. שהוא סוד חסד, which is the secret of grace, דזר אנפין, meaning Abraham is the secret of grace of Zer Anpin. Remember when we draw the tree of life? Yes, we draw usually the tree of life. This is the Zer Anpin. This is the Vav. And here grace, Chesed. Chesed, the Zer Anpin. Chesed, the Zer Anpin. This is Abraham. Now he will explain, meaning דהיינו שהחוכמה שבה, meaning the wisdom in the נוקבה, נתלבשה, God dressed, בחסדים, in grace, ונשלמה הארתה, and her illumination was completed. וכשנקשר הכל באברהם, and everything was connected in Abraham, אז נשברו לפניו כל המלכים. Then all the kings were broken in front of him. כמו שאמרנו לאל, like we said above, שכתוב אז, that is written, your right hand, Hashem will take off the enemy. Did we understand?
Yes.
Good.
And what does it mean to be dressed in Hasidim?
To be dressed.
This is this expression.
This is a very good, because this is the language of Bala Sulam. The question is always, how do we translate it to dressed? When do we dress? I mean, animals, they dress. They have the fur, they have the skin. Let's say if there's a cat or the lion, they don't need garments. To dress is to make good deeds. Give you an example from daily life, may I?
Yes, please.
Yes. So let's say there is a Zohar session afternoon, let's say Israel time, and Etty wants to find a topic, so she sits and survey a few ideas, and she reads, but she doesn't find a rest in these ideas because it doesn't sit. It's wisdom, everything is beautiful, beautiful gems, beautiful diamonds, but doesn't sit. So Etty says, I'll go to the supermarket, I see what people here need, and I'll try to fetch the things that are needed. When I return, I make something to eat. We sit to eat. And then through the conversation or through something which is happening in the course of going to the supermarket or in the supermarket or coming on foot or with a bus home, something happens and a thin idea enters through the action of, let's say, preparing lunch. Let's say, do you understand? There is wisdom. But then wisdom needs grace. The grace is the action. And it comes and it sits. And after we had lunch or during the course of the daily is happening, suddenly something appears very solid and we go for it. Because it's not abstract, there's a vessel. The vessel are the deeds, are actually actions in the day.
I understand it, yes. And it is interesting that we can feel the when it sits, right?
Yes,
when it's connected.
Yes, you feel there's a connection, you feel the covenant, it sits. It's something very solid. When something sits, you cannot shake it inside, because there is a connection between Zeranpin and Malchut. It's a very solid bond. Because look at our structure. I mean, there's a head, and in our head we have thoughts. And then there's, let's say, the throat is connecting the body, and we have arms. The arms are related with grace and Gevurah. And if we do natural actions in the day, we use our arms and hands. It's just in the world of doing, which is related to the heart. Yes? The doing, the midot, is related with the heart, with time and space. Does it make any sense?
Completely.
Sometimes,
And
yes, Fernando, please.
no, please.
Sometimes our thoughts are running, running really far, and then we leave the thoughts and do something useful. We take care of things, and suddenly there's peace comes and order, and then we gain a different perspective, a different entry, and then we continue. Yes.
No, just is that it is interesting that the kings captured Lot, and Lot is related with the also with Sodom, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, and Sodom, we know that one translation is the institutional, but also it is related with sexual activity, also like to, but not literal. I'm not taking it literal as as it, but a relationship in a lower level, maybe, because it is the symbol of the city. But it also is the institutional, the bureaucracy, the what the others will think about, what the institution will think about the attitude, right? So the kings only can get this frame of thinking, right? And the Abraham is the one who goes forward, who goes forward, and and makes what has to make.
Yes. It's interesting that you mentioned Sodom. What is the symbol of Sodom more than everything else? Weinreb also write about this. Weinreb writes that Sodom is extreme development. This is one aspect. But there's another way to look at the Sodom as self-interest, self-interest organism. This is not turning to the general. This is why you mentioned Sodom as a way for human to take a turn, not a right turn, not a straight turn, so to speak.
In Sodom, the energy only goes down, and it makes me remember about Mossad that you said that is
Mossad and institutional, because what happens in like university, for instance, I was working there. The university as an institution was established as, I believe, all over the places to serve the public, to give a service of education in many levels to people in certain area or from abroad. This is the aim, that why universities exist. But during the course of the institution being institution, and people with interests are governing certain squads and certain, let's say, floors and hierarchies, in a way the institution turned its face. Instead of turning to the public and serve the public needs in education and going forward, the institution is serving its own interest. And professors or other people with other duties in the university using the university as an instrument to benefit themselves, to promote themselves, to get money, to raise funds for themselves, not for the public. Take this idea in institution and move this idea to any kind of realm. Instead of turning to the public, to the general, to the Vav, to the Ranpin, to the Spirit, to the grace, everything is instrumentalized to take care of someone's interests and to leave them in power as long as it is possible.
It's interesting, Eti, that the word Sodom is 104, right? 104, which is 4 times the tetragrammaton. So there is a connection with this. I just try to fit this idea that Sodom is 104. Oh, I calculate without the Vav.
Yes, and here we have 40. And what do we have? The
Uh,
60, 40, and then we have 10.
yes,
It's
uh,
110.
yes, but I calculate without the
It's
Vav
okay. It's
because
okay.
and then we get
This is interesting because this 110 brings me back to Joseph, because in the Midrash we find that Joseph was sold. Did you read about it? That selling of Joseph to the caravan of merchant was not innocent. Have you read about this before or not?
I can remember only that they was trying to kill Joseph, but they took a bread. I can remember one class
Yes.
they ate together a bread, so they uh, this eating together came some grace, and instead of killing, they sold Joseph to the merchant.
The Thank you. The Midrash says also in the Zohar that this Joseph was sold to be a amusement boy in Egypt, without adding more words to the picture. This is the reason.
But this is interesting, Eti, because if we think that Joseph, I'm sorry,
Yes.
if we think that Joseph is the secret, it is the secret Yesod.
Yes.
We can't think that to sell Joseph to the Egyptians, uh, to be a amazement boy, or I don't know how
Mhm.
to pronounce it. It is what we often see about the hidden wisdom, right? Like some people use the hidden wisdom to get material benefit, or
Yes.
to be better in Egypt, to or to be famous in Egypt, or wherever, you know.
Yes.
This is a kind of selling Joseph, like uh, selling the secret, you know.
Mhm.
Once I saw a rabbi here in Brazil
Mhm.
speaking about the 72 names of God in the television, like in a program, this program that happens in the afternoon for, I don't know, very cheap program. And the rabbi was selling some amulets and all sorts of things. Uh, I'm sorry to bring this such a bad example, but for me it sounds like selling Joseph to Egypt.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know.
Yes. Yes.
it's interesting that Fernando mentioned the swords because Sodom has the word sword,
Nachon, true.
the, the
True.
sword of the mem of the time of the material. I don't know. I don't know. I just realized that the sword is also in Sodom,
Yes, in
but I don't know.
Sodom.
I don't know. Yes, I don't know what it means, but in Sodom appears the sword also.
Yes, very good, but very good. The Sodom in Hebrew Sdom holds the letter of secret Sod. So we have Samech Daled Vav, and we take the Mem Sofit, final Mem. Final Mem is like a room closed without a door, without a window. Is the Zohar says that the final Mem is related with the masculine, while the open Mem is related to the feminine, and because she has an entry. And this is why when Lot was having guests, the people of Sodom knocked at his door and asked to know his guests. You remember this moment in Genesis?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
So they speak here what is to know the guest also. This is like a beautiful language. But it is interesting that in Sodom there is a secret, but the secret is just to utilize people. It is in closed four walls. It's a final mem. It is not streaming like in Joseph the Yesod, the Yod, the covenant is not streaming to the Nukba and to nourish the Nukba and to nourish people, because you see the Yod is an open letter, and when it comes here it can turn the Nukba into heavenly kingdom. This is an open source, open code with Joseph, but not in Sodom.
Sodom, the sword is stuck.
Yes, is that because sword is also 70 secret. It's like wine. The wine and the secret is only for the people themselves. It doesn't stream. There is no conversation between the people or the world around them. They live segregated for themselves. Everything that they do is for themselves. This is the first unit of incest. And the Bible tells us what will happen to Lot later with his children.
Yes, yes.
Everything that we have and we can share with people. And now it does not matter if it's an apple in our school bag or an idea or hello or good morning, share it. This is it. This is it. Not to keep anything inside. Everything becomes fossil and like, how do you say, a muddy waters or swamp. Just share it with the world. This is what Abraham did. This is why they wanted to kill him. Everything that he had, he shared. He never calculated anything. His tent was open to the four directions of the wind.
Well, it is 2 o'clock in the morning here in Australia.
Questions or thoughts?
It is just to say thank you. Thank you to open this to us. Thank you to Sherry. Thank you, Fernando and Philippe and everyone on YouTube. It was an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being with us today. Have a wonderful day, and we could meet here tomorrow for a new conversation. Thank you so much.
Great, great.
Thank
Shalom,
you.
shalom.
Thank
Shalom,
you,
shalom.
Rodrigo, Philip, Venus, and all the friends. Thank you so much.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.